You mentioned on Sunday it was a gutsy win over Widnes. Now you've had a chance to review, reflect that game. Were there any moments in that match where you feel the team's character and that determination really shone through in that victory?
Yeah, to go 12 points down at 14 points down at one point to a good Widnes team. They're not a bad team, Widnes. They played really well at home. And then to dig ourselves out of a hole and get to the right end of the field and get the right job done. I thought the lesson was, you can't give people a leg up at the start of games, which is what we did.
How does a gutsy win like that, a different type of win than what Bradford have been accustomed to, affect the team's confidence and belief?
Well, I hope it's the same response that I initially had, Green initially had, because we can't keep doing that. It was a different kind of self-harm to what we've witnessed earlier in the year. There was just like errors or penalties in ridiculous situations. This was we were slightly off it at the start of the game. We can't be like that. Not this week or the coming 6 weeks.
I know you don't like praising players individually, but how pleased are you with players like Luke Cooley, Sam Hallis and their leadership and that grit that they, almost like they bring a calmness to proceedings, when things aren't going right, like you say, chasing down a 14-point deficit?
Well, I thought Jade Knockenberg also deserved a mention with it. He had 258 metres carrying, wow. And that's leading by example for sure. And other examples of players that were in the mix. I get what you're saying about Sam Hallis, his work rate from the bench. I think he did something like 39 tackles from the bench, wow. And they were all efficient as well, which helped us. And Luke Hooley has been promising that kind of composure, if that's the right word, for a while, and he came up with it at the right times. And so we know the facets of all of our players, and we just got to make sure that we don't give ourselves too much to do.
You touched on it post-match. It's good to get that sort of monkey off the back, winning at somewhere like Widnes where you're not used to. That in itself is a good momentum builder.
Yeah, I think it's another reflective measure, or is it reflective? I've never been one to, well, we're playing at such and such, and all the boogeymen come out. Oh, but you haven't won there in 27 years or whatever it is. So this team is a different team to previous Bradford teams, so it's an opportunity to go and do something that other Bradford teams haven't done, and that's the only way we look at it. We can't buy into traditionally, we've got no chance in the playoffs.
You mentioned afterwards, Brian, you weren't too sure if everybody come through injury-free. Obviously, you've had a few days now to look at the players. How's it looking for Friday? Did everybody come
everybody's
through?
all good from the weekend. Michael Lawrence is available again, and perhaps George Tafua will put his hands up, so for the first time in a long while, but somebody's going to miss out.
George Tafua was named in the 21 last week. He's not played since Toulouse in March. You've not played him in any of the reserve fixtures. Could he potentially just be thrown straight in on Friday against Halifax?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. He was one of our quality acquisitions a couple of years ago. He remains that. His influence on the squad is great. Clearly game time might be an issue, but when you get to the state of the season or the amount of games we've got left, we can't play around with people, so they work extra hard with Nick, our conditioner, and we're hoping that we can just get them ready to go into places that, as I said, we haven't had the same team more than 3 times this year, and it's important. Even now we've got Fenton Rogers pulled last week, so Nathan Mason came. It's important those people that are on the fringes are really ready to go. We need to build a little bit of resilience and flexibility in our squad that we'll need towards the back end of the year.
And I'm kind of guessing George Tafua, if he's selected, Brian, he'll bring that sort of freshness, that eagerness of wanting to make up for lost time.
Well, being injured is not a fault of anybody, so I don't know if he wants to make up for it. He just wants to get back out there and play and show his wares, and he's a great asset to have around. he's been doing a lot of things, and how we use him and when we use him is a bonus.
I wasn't there, but I did listen intently to Willie Peters' pre-Salford press conference where someone asked a question about Aribidoro, and he kind of hinted that he's going to be staying at Bradford for the foreseeable. What's the latest with that? I know you've got Aribidoro for this game on Friday, but is it looking like Aribi is here to stay for the foreseeable?
No, I wouldn't say that. What I would say is that he's been great for us. His first stint at the weekend was probably his worst stint, and I think he'll put his hands up to that one as well. I think it's important, and I've said this all along, we're grateful to both Willie and Pete Riding at Hull KR and their owner that they're letting us have him, but they could take him at any stage, and that's what we have to be prepared for.
Michael Lawrence missed the last two. He's in with a shout on Friday, you say, Brian?
He's in with a shout, yeah.
And when you look at the leadership of the side with the absence of Michael Lawrence, I'm guessing how pleased have you been with players who have stepped up to take on that role, which is a
it was a good question, because it was interesting to see who would step up and take that role. You know, Jordan uses a lot of words, and Sam Hallis by his actions. So I've always been an actions man myself, and that's the good thing about Michael Lawrence. He understands the game, but he also backs up his words with actions, and that has to be the remit for all of our players. You know, collectively we're slightly off for the first 15 minutes at Widnes, and that's a team that starts well. Widnes start well. If you look at all of their games recently, they've been ahead at a half time, or certainly a number of scores ahead as well. So it was important that we held our nerve. I think we did. I think we held our nerve, and I think we came through the other side. We're going to have to be on it on Friday against Halifax.
James Meadows being the 18th man, I believe, in the last three games, Brian, clearly is fully fit, waiting for the chance. What's been your message to him?
Wait for your chance. You know, it's many respects players get themselves out of the team. You know, it's not a nice thing when you have to take somebody out of the team, but it's how you respond. Is a measure of how you've been merited. You know, your worth. This is a tight group. They like each other. And I've no qualms in using James Meadows when the opportunity arises.
Is it almost like using that Fenton Rodgers being recalled by Luke Robinson to go back to Huddersfield, and Nathan Mason, who missed a couple, waiting patiently for that chance?
Well, that's on and off through the year. We've had people that's been healthy in certain positions, and you know, and at times we've had people that haven't been healthy anyway in any position, so we've been down to the last gasp. So yeah, your questions merit. You've got to be patient, and when your opportunity comes along, I think you've got to take it.
Tyron Ock, Jamie Gill have helped Dewsbury move up the League One table in the last couple of weeks. I think they're 2 points off the playoffs. What's the latest with them? Are they likely to remain at Dewsbury?
Well, I think Jamie Gill will for now. We have a few championship clubs that are nibbling around our players. It's important we give them football at the highest level. That's the criteria I work by. Dewsbury been great with us on the dual reg this year. We need to help them wherever we possibly can. But also our professionals and our first top squadders, if you like, need to play at the highest level they possibly can, so when they come back to us, they're ready for action.
Is that kind of a little bit why in the past Sam Ackroyd's been at Whitehaven in League One and Keighley in League One, and now he's at Hunslet in the Championship?
Yes.
When you look at the results against Widnes and Oldham, Brian, how important is that momentum from those wins for a tough Halifax challenge on Friday night?
Well, it's nothing unless you're ready for it. We had a real tough encounter down at the Shea early in the season. They've been using our pitch, so it's like a home fixture for both sides. You know, they'll have a familiarity about the place, but we need to reinforce a few messages as to why we're at home. And you know, we're building again to this six towards the back end. They clearly have been in good form. They beat Toulouse. There was a close game against York, which I went to. You know, so that they're happy there. We need to be very, very ready.
Back to Halifax using Odsal as their temporary home. They've had 3 games in sort of the last 4 or 5 weeks, Brian. Do you see that as being a bit of a leveller, a bit of an advantage for Kyle Eastman and the Panthers?
Yeah. not so much an advantage, but they're used to playing on that pitch. But so are we. You know, it's our home ground, it's our territory, and we need to reinforce that message.
And as you said, they've had some good wins recently against Toulouse and pushed York pretty much all the way for a good 60-65 minutes.
Yeah.
They're just outside the playoffs. They'll clearly arrive very, very motivated on Friday for a big local derby.
Well, we're not watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarf films ourselves.
And just on the back of Brian of...
Well,
I know.
Our boys should be motivated.
No, I know. I understand. Yeah. I'm just saying the club are billing this one as obviously Friday Night Fever, Part 4. It's looking like it's going to be the biggest crowd of the season.
I hope so.
on Friday night.
Yeah.
Just give us a little bit of an insight, Brian, into how that crowd plays an important part. Certainly. Behind the team.
Well, our fans are great. We know that everywhere they go, that they're acclaimed for being great and noisy and doing the right things. And I have no different opinion on them than I've ever had. If you have a team that we have that gives its all, then they'll be supported by our fans. I think it's an opportunity to drag somebody new along. Come and have a look on a Wednesday night. They'd miss it if it was Wednesday night. Come and have a look on a Friday night and see the excitement. I like the Friday nights. I like the fireworks. I like the atmosphere. I like we've had some decent weather as well. I suppose it's going to be decent again on Friday. So I hope that everybody rocks up and gives us all the support they possibly can.